Mark, with us facing our shortest turnaround between games so far this season, what do modern day methods of recovery look like?
Well, modern day methods of recovery are different at different clubs, and the resources at different clubs. Ours is pretty good. On the way back from the game, the players had there were three coaches that went. The two brought the players back, and they had the ability to lie down. So there were sort of beds on there, bunk beds and what have you. So they were able to come back on those and hopefully get a bit of rest and stretch out. They ended up with probably 3 o'clock home, as many of our supporters did. And yesterday they were in a little bit later, so they came in midday, and then we had a usual recovery session, and which entailed massage and various elements. We have a cryotherapy chamber, and they came and players were able to go into that as well. And then there's different elements for our recovery protocols that help for them to try and recover as best they possibly can do. And we're fortunate to have some pools in the building where they can go and get in there and recover in there with different types of therapies within there. So we've obviously, on top of that, nutrition and rehydration, and then you've got your sleep to get as well. So those are the things that they've been doing over the last sort of 24 hours. Today they're in, and obviously we've got a training session before a 12:30 kick-off tomorrow. So there's plenty of time to recover for us now today. I think the staff have been working really hard as well. So after the game we work and we do some preparation work for obviously delivery today and tomorrow.
As a manager who's overseen more than 800 games, you've seen it all in terms of good spells and difficult spells. As a manager, how do you kind of deal with them and help a team navigate through them?
Well, we're working in the same way as we have done. We've come up against some really good teams, so and in that spell we've got a reverse fixtures as well. So there's a couple of teams we've got to play for a second time in a short space. But it's the programme. It's just the way it is. This is why everybody says it's so difficult to get out. Generally, the team with the biggest squads are the teams that are the most successful, and the squads that they can dip into and not have any negative impact on performance. We've got some good players in our squad. There's obviously, we've got an injury to one of what I think is one of the best players in the division in Lewis Baker, because we've got a player there that's contributed greatly in terms of goals and assists for us. So he's always going to be a miss. But at this stage last season I was not in, but not too distant future I was coming into the building, and there were a lot of injuries last season. So I'm hoping that we can maintain that and keep that low level of injury. Obviously, after this game, we lose Junior Chamadou to the African Cup of Nations, and whilst we wish him all the best in there, hopefully he can get back as quickly as possible to make sure that he's back with us for the games. And the games are every 3 days, as everybody knows. So, it's a really, really difficult and testing time for every team in the Championship.
How much of a role would the supporters have to play during that period in terms of getting behind the team?
They know now they're hugely important, and they play a critical role in anything that we can do that's positive. So as long as we remain positive, you've mentioned the difficult period. We've lost too many games out of the last 6, and only winning 1, losing the others. So there's no draws in there or anything. I've got to say that the supporters have been fantastic through that period, but ever since we walked through the door, to be fair. But we're still in a good position to be able to attack the top 6. We just have to start picking points up. It's as simple as that. There's no shortcuts to anything. We won't be doing anything drastically different, because what we've done so far has proved to be successful. Sometimes you just come up against better teams. Sometimes you have a little bit of an off day, like we did on Saturday, and then you come up against a side like Ipswich that we really competed against. And I thought we were really good, like I said the other day, from our penalty area to their penalty area. And then it's just what happens then. They scored a great goal, and we didn't manage to get an equaliser, and that was a disappointment, but not in the players, just for the players and for the supporters, because it was such a decent performance, and it was a really high output from us as well. So, you know, they deserve something from that. We deserved nothing on Saturday, and you know, prior to that as well. So you look at the from the Coventry game, the Leicester game, we deserved points there. The Hull City game, we were brilliant first half, and then not so great in the second half, and then you can have that. It could have that impact on you. So we've got to stop that that sequence as soon as possible.
You've spoken in the past about being more ruthless in the final third and improved decision making. What have been your words of wisdom as a former striker to the attacking players in that sense?
Well, honestly, with that, it's their decisions. So, you know, we talk all the time about, you know, what I mean, my processes might be different than other processes. You've got to be aware of that. You know, different qualities, different abilities of players. They've got to see the picture and then deliver that. But we'll just keep working, keep talking to them, make sure that they are. I mean, you talk about freedom within the game, within a structure, and they are free to do that. They're free to make their own choices. I spoke with a player yesterday about the freedom of, you know, what that means and how that can impact him in a positive way and the team in a positive way, and that's not just with one individual, that's with all of them. And we speak to them every single day on those things, and hopefully something will click, something will change, and we'll get back to winning ways. But I've got to say, I'm pleased with a hell of a lot of the aspects of our play.
In terms of Swansea tomorrow, what do you make of the challenge in front of you?
Another tough game. I think that they've had a couple of home wins. They've got some good players in the squad. They have got a new head coach, and he's obviously making an impact in his own way. And they've had a go at putting a really good squad together, which they've done. You know, with Vipotnik and with Adamida, you know, they've got two proven strikers really. I mean, Adam came through at Norwich and did particularly well. Got his move to Celtic, and then I think it was just under £7 million that Swansea paid for him this summer. And he's highly rated. Still a young player. Had a bad injury that's kept him out for a little while, but he's now back and playing. Vipotnik, on the other hand, has scored 7 goals this season. He's a handful. They've got some good wide players and midfield players. Franco's been really good since he came to Swansea. We played against them last season. We know what they're about traditionally, and the manager was talking about that and getting back to being Swansea and taking them back to the Swansea way of playing. That everybody knows and obviously respects down there, because that's the way that they like to see their team play and set up. So it'll be a good game. It'll be a game of football, and hopefully the weather stays fairly dry and the wind stays away, so it can be a really good football, a good occasion for everybody, and hopefully we'll come out on the right end of a good performance.
It's the final home game before Christmas. What are the pros and cons of the Christmas period for a player and a manager?
Everything is full on. You know, we don't have too much time to have any Christmas at all. But you know, that's not trying to garner any sympathy or anything like that. I don't want that. We're in this job because we love it, and it's a privilege. So you know, all of these things you can enjoy Christmases when you've hung up your boots and you're long gone from the game. So you know, from my perspective, they'll have some time. And they'll spend a bit of time with the families, clearly over Christmas, because that's important too. And some have got young families as well, so that's always important. The tricky bit is to get the balance between the work and the celebration. But I think generally football players are really good, professional, and are ready to play in those games that, like I say, come really frequently over every 3 days.
The players will be out in the community next week making their annual Christmas visits. How important do you kind of see that work? Community
work's imperative, because they can get out, people can see that they're real people. People can, our supporters can see that, and we're going to the hospitals next week where we're talking about people spending Christmas with family, and you know, unfortunately there are people that are really ill in hospital and won't come out of hospital at Christmas, although the ones that are in a better place end up being able to go home for Christmas. I think they try and do that, but it's always a privilege to go and see, especially the children, the young children that are in these places, but adults too, because it's not easy when you're trying to overcome illnesses and injury or whatever it may be. I think it's really important to go out and see them, and I think it's also important to go and see people in the community and see how they're faring and see if there's anything that sort of we can do to cheer them up in a day. And I'm sure that that they are proud of their team. You know, we just got to make sure we continue to make them so.